Hey guys, I shared the start of this mini album back on June 1st in my Expedition gallery. And I've been working on it throughout the month and sharing my progress on Instagram stories, and I've had a lot of questions. So I just wanted to take a minute to kind of film a walkthrough video and show you a little more about how it came together. Now this is just recording a weekend trip we took with our youngest. And I think this would be a really fun and easy way to record any short trip or summer adventure that you have. I started out with a mini binder from Target that I actually had in my stash. It's about 1.5 inches wide, and these biggest photos that I've used in here are 6 by 8. So it just felt like a really nice size for a project like this. It's not so small that all these kind of bits and pieces that I picked up wouldn't fit in, but it's not so big that I felt like I was going to be working on it forever. So the first thing that I did when I got home was to take all of the little paper bits that I picked up and just hole punch them to add to the binder. I actually took a piece of printer paper and templated out where the holes would be, and then I used that kind of as a guide to punch everything else. When you're doing this, you need to think about kind of where your bits and pieces are going to sit. Like if I had punched this differently, it could have sat up top. So I put luggage tags at the start and at the end, but everything else I just kind of layered in where I thought it looked good. I kind of think about how things will sit on top of each other, getting different sizes, like getting the bigger pieces and the little pieces, the way they layer together. So I just went ahead and popped them all in, and I did kind of move them around as I went through and added more pages. But just having all these little bits in the binder kind of got me excited about the project and ready to keep going. Now the next thing that I did was to kind of figure out a formula that I would use on each of my days. I feel like having kind of a standard plan for each of my days kind of gives me a framework, and it makes it way easier for me to wrap my head around a project like this. I don't know about you, but I tend to get overwhelmed when I'm working on a mini album, and just kind of having an idea and a formula of where I'm going really helps. So every day has a little page like this, and then a full page photo with a little layout on the back. And this is actually a page from the June Traveler's Notebook from the Planner Kit. And all I did was open it up, pop the staples out, and pull out the pages. And from here, I just folded it in half and hole punched it and used that. And I did this because I wanted to be able to stitch without worrying about it. So this kind of gives me the nice double thickness without having to worry about cutting two things to the same size and gluing it together and all that. So for the front of each of these days, I just did the mega date stamp at the top and then listed out everything we did. Added a little stamping, added a little tab, and I like the way that it creates kind of a divider for the day. On the back of each of these, I did a trio of photos with some stamping and little accents and just a little bit of journaling. On each of my main photos, I did some stamping and some stars and a strip of pattern paper. And then on the backs of these, I did a stamped word with a photo and a little bit of journaling. So you'll see that repeated throughout the album. So let's just start back at the beginning and walk through this whole thing. To open it up, I started with a transparency trimmed down to 6 by 8. We got these magnets while we were there, and they really weren't going to work to punch into the binder ring. So I thought it would be fun to have them this way to start out the album. I like how they kind of float over these other elements, and you can see a little bit of everything that's to come. So we got luggage tags. We have a little card we got at the hotel, and I just backed this with a photo printed to the same size as the card. I kind of looked for opportunities to add in some of my extra photos here and there like this. This is just a little gift card, and I took the ring that it was on and just looped it right around the binder ring. That first divider page, I did add some little stamped accents here and there on that page as well. 3 photos, my big photo, and then a simple little layout. The back of this page gave me an opportunity to do pretty much anything that I wanted. I could have done all journaling, I could have done more journaling, I could have done a more traditional layout, kind of with pattern paper and accents and all that, but my mission here was to get this done, and I wanted to keep it kind of simple. There's typically a lot going on in mini albums, so I like to kind of have these resting places. So on each of these, I just did kind of an ombre with the Max alphabet and the new Max outline that will be in the shop at the next reveal, where I started in green and then up to Mojito with some double stamping just to get that kind of fade out to the top. And I really like how that turned out. Here we just have a little card that we got. This is just some packaging from a toy we bought for the kittens. I added a little tag with a star to the back of that. These are just some little patches that we got with a game we played, and I really didn't know where else I was going to use them, so I think they look cute in here. And again, I love transparent elements like this that lets you see what's next. And on the back of those, I just layered over some tickets with some little accents. We have day 2, another list, another little bits of stamping. The same 3 photos. We've got a little tab here too. The stamping and stars on each of the big photos. And then you can see this layout is pretty much exactly the same as this one. The only thing that changed was the background color, the words, and which washi I used. Again, repeating elements will make your mini album feel pulled together and super cohesive, and it will also kind of take the stress off of you for having to come up with something new on every single page. I think as crafters, we put a lot of kind of unnecessary energy into reinventing the wheel over and over, and it's totally fine to just repeat elements, especially in a mini album like this. Got this little pop-up postcard next. I thought about adding some journaling here, and I still might. I just wasn't sure what to write. I had a couple extra photos from this day, so I just printed them out as 4x6s, glued them together, and popped them into the album. I added just a little bit of stamping on each one, but again, super simple. You could add as many little pages like this as you want. I think it would also be fun if you just had one photo you wanted to share. You could use a 4x6 journaling card on the other side. Another bit of paper that I added, just a little label and some stars too. More packaging. We're on to day 3. Another list. Handful of photos. I did try to make it so each of these was different, just to add some different colors into the album. And each of these strips is different. So another stamping with stars. Another layout with the faded words. This is just some packaging from some candy that we brought home, and I added this little note paper from the planner kit just to add a little bit of journaling to it. And then we've got a luggage tag and a map from a little game thing we did, a little hide and seek game. And since this was bigger than 6x8, I went super simple. I just folded it over. So that works right in there. So that is how this album came together. And like I said, this is just perfect for any short trip. If you got a bigger, kind of wider binder, you'd have more room to add in more days. Where I ended up with my 3 days worth of stuff, I think you could add a bit more in here, but not a crazy lot. Maybe one more day of kind of the little pages that I put together and memorabilia. So if you have a longer trip or a lot more photos, I'd go bigger. But like I said, this is super fun for just a weekend adventure or just something small, you have to record that has a lot of memorabilia. So if you go ahead and try this out, I would love to see what you do. Just link me up in the comments so I can see, or tag me on Instagram. Thanks for joining me today, and I hope you have as much fun recording your summer adventures as you have taking them.